the first. Quite okay. We do have a few more people coming in, so we're going to wait for them. But thank you for being here for the first elementary ed chat of the 2023-2024 school year. I am Sharon Morgan, and I am the program director for early childhood and elementary literacy. And sometimes I try to keep us all organized. So I'm opening today, but I am so excited about this topic, tech and elementary, igniting creativity and learning. I think it's something that we all need to be talking about. It goes across all subject areas. So we are very excited for Karen and Jeremy to be hosting this for us today.
Okay, let me see if I get started. First of all, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know after a full day of work, I think we're all exhausted. My name is Karen Leonard, and I'm the project manager for educational technology and instructional design.
And I am Jeremy Maker, and I am the project manager for computer science and education. And I am also very super excited for this session, so we can look at all the different ways that computer science can be integrated into other content areas. And so at this time, we will actually have several of our project managers on with us. And so we will pass it on to the others to introduce themselves. And maybe we can start with Kathleen Skinner.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Kathleen Skinner, and I'm the program manager for World Languages PK-12.
Okay, and Kathleen, do you want to pick the next one down the row?
Sure, I'm going to choose Elizabeth Mon.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Mon. I'm project manager for Fine Arts in Standards and Learning here at the department, and I will pass it on to Heather.
Hi everybody, my name is Heather Johnston, and I'm project manager for pre-K-12 science and elementary engineering. And then I'm going to pass off to Brenda.
Hi, I'm Brenda Beamer Chapman, and I'm the project manager for social studies pre-K through 12 and personal financial literacy. And
I think Shayna's the only one left.
Shayna now. Shayna, to you.
Oh, thanks, Brenda. My name's Shayna Klassen. I am the project manager of health and physical education pre-K through 12th grade. All right, Karen. Oh, Sharon.
Oh, I was just going to mention also Anthony Purcell is our project manager for pre-K through 12 mathematics, but he was unable to be on tonight because he is facilitating math tutoring meetings this evening. So just so you know that he is also there and wishing he were on with us, I'm sure. All right, go for it.
Okay, so during this session, we have two main goals. We really want you to gain skills to appropriately integrate both technology and computer science into instruction. So no matter where you are in your level of ability in doing that, we hope that today's session will help you to just be able to go the next step further. And then at the end, we will have an open forum time for Q&A. So we can move on to the next slide, and I'll pass it on to Karen.
Okay, so I know many people cringe when they hear the word technology, and I always tell the story that when my husband and I got married, he bought us a computer, and I said, "Why did you do that? I'm never going to touch that." Now I'm working on my third technology degree, so I really understand the fact that a lot of people may not be comfortable, but we're going to try waterfall chat, and I am going to collect all of your responses as we go through tonight, and you will notice that there is a link to the slide deck, so you will have access to all this information. I would love to know what you think of when you hear the word technology integration. So if you just type your thoughts into the chat, but don't press enter yet. What do you think of when you think of technology integration? I'm going to give you about 10 to 15 seconds. Maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit enter. I see connecting to the real world can be beneficial if used correctly, using technology in all content areas. Great technology in the classroom, blending technology into your classroom presentation. Pamela, I am there with you trying to log in 25 little ones. Oh my goodness, that just sucks the life out of you. Using technology to share ideas. There's a lot of great ideas, and there are some that are here. And hopefully by the time we leave today, you will have some ideas of your own. So moving forward, technology. Basically, we've used it and think technically all the time, but technology is just any tool that helps make a task easier. So if we're going to the minutia of things, a pencil is a technology, a calculator, any tool that makes a task easier. Okay, so with that in mind, there are many benefits of technology integration. Some of them are things that you've referenced earlier. It does foster student engagement. We do have to control that student engagement sometimes, try to keep it confined. It also encourages collaboration. I know that all of my teammates on this call right now, we collaborate all the time, daily, hourly. Students have to learn how to do that, and technology is a great tool. Technology also allows learning to go beyond the classroom environment and the school, to expose students to things that they may not be able to get exposure to in real life. And it supports learning and student learning differences. So there definitely are a lot of benefits of technology integration. So some of you, we asked you earlier, what do you think of when you think technology integration? Now we would like to have you either unmute or type in the chat box, how do you currently integrate technology? And some of you may not have a lot of ideas and you're like, that's why I'm here. I'll share one of my favorite technology integrations was when I was teaching middle school geography. We used our geography textbook, but to really help students understand, we Skyped, so that kind of dates it right there, not even Zoomed, Skyped with people all around the world. And my students could ask them questions, and then they had to type up little journal entries. And that provided the student engagement, it was collaboration, and it pulled them in areas outside of their classroom. And I'm trying to see, let's see what anyone has put in there. Any ideas? People use station rotation with iPads, Lexia and Prodigy, and for projects, virtual field trips. What a great way, once again, to expose people, our students, to things that you can't take them to. Individualization of assignments, 3D printing, that's pretty cool. iExcel, Google Slides for research. Well, we're going to give you some more ideas today, but one of the great things is we're collaborating right now, and we love to have you share your ideas with us. So as we keep going, be sure to add your thoughts to the box. So Jeremy, on to you.
So we hear a lot about technology, and we hear some about computer science, but I'm kind of wondering what the difference is between those two. Is there a difference between computer science and educational technology? And if so, what is it? So what I want you to do is take just a couple moments and look through this slide, and I'll give you a little bit of wait time. And when you're ready, you can either come off mute, you're welcome to do that, or you can just put in the chat some of the different things that you notice. So I'll give you a few moments to look it over.
I think we're having Monday brains at this time of day.
Lots of thinking going on.
Yeah.
And when you start having some noticings or wonderings, add those into the chat. One thing I like to do as I look at these two, the one on the left, I look at as one column, the one on the right, I look at as another. So Kara says computer science is the study of the bones of technology. Educational technology is how to apply knowledge in using the technology. What are the differences that you see between the column on the left and the column on the right? What do you notice?
I feel like the computer science is learning how the computer works and the educational technology is using it to work for another task.
Very good thought. Let's take that a little bit further. If I was to ask you which list looks more scientific, would it be the list on the left or the list on the right? We have in the chat the left. Anybody else agree? Okay, so I'm having lots of lefts that's more scientific. Why though? Why is the list on the left more scientific? What do you notice? What stands out to you that makes you think that you see a little bit more science on the left than what you do on the right? Okay, evaluating research, science terms, very good. That's very true. So the list on the right is definitely very important. You know, the students need to learn how to type. They need to learn how to use a mouse. They need to know how to use these productivity softwares like Google Slides and Microsoft Word and things along that line. But as far as taking it deeper and getting beyond just the usage of it, that's where the computer science takes place. That's when the analyzing is happening, the creating, the researching, and the evaluating. So that's kind of the difference between just using educational technology and actually studying the science of it, and so getting into the computer science. Okay, next slide, please. So a lot of people did not realize, or even still do not realize, that computer science has their own set of standards. The Oklahoma Academic Standards for Computer Science began to be developed back in 2017, so it's been several years. They were officially adopted in the spring of 2018, and then in the summer of 2022, a committee actually began the process of revising those standards. And today we have the 2023 Oklahoma Academic Standards for Computer Science. So with that in mind, this next school year is a very important year for computer science. This slide has the current legislation. It says beginning in the 2024-2025 school year, all public middle and elementary schools and public charter middle and elementary schools in the state shall offer instruction aligned to the Oklahoma Academic Standards for Computer Science. That's a mouthful. That's saying a whole lot. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to make sure that students in every elementary school that they're being offered computer science? There's 3 ways that a school can meet this legislation. They can offer a standalone computer science course. They can integrate computer science in with other content areas, and we're going to show you some examples of that here in a few moments. Or they can offer it as a part of their specials rotation. So if they have like a STEM rotation, it can be offered as a part of that. And then Karen, did you want to click the link for the computer science standards, and we'll take a quick look through there. Okay. So these are the 2023 standards for computer science. And on this page that she has brought up, it's the 4th page, I believe it is, it actually gives an explanation The computer science standards are broken up into 5 concepts, and we'll talk a little bit more about those concepts here in just a moment. And then each one of the concepts are broken into sub-concepts. And again, we'll look at those here in just a moment. And then you have what in a lot of different content areas is called strands, but there actually are concepts. And then it's broken down into the individual standards. So Karen, if you want to take a look at the OSDE standards, that would be great.
Okay, well, many of you may not also know that we do have national, state technology standards, and these are the OSDE standards. What's a little different about the OSDE standards in comparison to the computer science standards is while the computer science standards are grade level specific, the OSDE standards are for PK-12. So you're going to notice that provides you greater freedom for teaching information about these standards. And in this, there are 7 strands. We're going to look at the breakdown of that in just a few minutes to help you become more aware of our standards for just general technology.
Okay, so the Oklahoma Academic Standards for Computer Science, we mentioned, in a lot of content areas, we hear the word strands, but pretty much across the board from state to state and even on the national level, and certainly here in Oklahoma, they are called concepts, broken down into the 5 main areas of computing systems, networks and the internet, data analysis, algorithms and programming, and impacts of computing. It's very important to understand, a lot of people think computer science, so okay, that means coding, which is definitely an important part of it, and that would fall under that 4th concept. But there's a lot more that goes into it, including that impacts of computing, where you're studying a lot into like the different ethical concerns, data analysis, which is a really big field currently. So it's really a broad area of study. It's a broad content area. Okay, we can go to the next slide.
There you go, trying to unmute, and I know my dog's going to start barking. So like I was talking about the OSDE standards, these are broken down into 7 strands, and you're going to be able to see some of that crossover even with the computer science standards. So one of the computer science standard strands is impacts of computing. Well, we're talking about becoming a digital citizenship or a creative communicator, global collaborator. You're going to find a lot of crossover between these 2 sets of standards, which is good because the old adage, you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Actually, we're going to help you find even more crossover today.
So we're going to take a look at a couple of examples of what it looks like to integrate technology education in computer science along with other content areas. So we can go to the next slide. And we're going to begin with an example from math. Students are going to survey their classmates on which lunch items that are most popular. So is it the pizza that they serve in the cafeteria? Is it the hamburgers? Is it the chicken nuggets? They're going to find that out. Then they're going to take that data and they're going to organize it into frequency table or bar graph, maybe even a pictograph, whichever graph makes the most sense for that type of data. From there, they can use appropriate digital tools to begin to create those graphs in a visual representation. And then when they have those graphs in hand, and they can do that in a lot of different ways, but when they have them in hand, then they can begin to answer some questions. If you look at the bottom of this slide, there's 2 example questions. The first one, which would be the second from the bottom, is actually a 1-step problem. It says, what is the most popular lunch item according to the data? So that's going to be really easy for them to go through, look at, total up that data, and say, oh, well, maybe it's the chicken nuggets. And then the second one, you have a 2-step problem. If you add the number of students who prefer chicken nuggets and hamburgers, how many is that in total? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. I want you to take a look at these standards. Take a moment to read those to yourself. So we're gonna just kind of sit here quietly as you're reading, and then we'll talk about it here in just a moment. Okay, so what I want you to notice is we have a 3rd grade Oklahoma Academic Standard for math, a 3rd grade Oklahoma Academic Standard for computer science, and then an OSDE standard. And in a very authentic way, these standards were able to blend together or integrate together so that we weren't just focusing on one content area. We weren't just doing math. We were not just doing computer science, but we were doing those together. And at the same time, not only using technology, but using it in a way that's very meaningful for those kiddos. Okay, and we will pass it to Karen.
Okay, so I'm more of an ELA person, and I'm thinking that you know that if you're a 3rd grade teacher, that was something you would do in math. So we also know that oftentimes you have students research and maybe write reports or create a presentation. So an ELA example would be when you're asking students to write informative reports on an animal's habitat and then to present their information to the class. So how I could integrate technology for that would be to use, this is actually a 2nd grade standard. So for ELA in 2nd grade, students will pre-write and develop drafts by sequencing the action in a story or details about a topic through writing sentences. It's also a science standard in the fact that they're making observations of plants and animals to compare the diversity of life in different habitats. So we can have those discussions after they all present and share. But how are they going to present and share? Well, for computer science, we're thinking independently or with guidance, create a grade level appropriate artifact. Well, you know, they can create an artifact with paper and pencil, but they could also create maybe a digital story map or storyboard. And I'm going to tell you that in this case, this might be a no-tech computer science standard because they could create that without technology. Or, and I did not say what ISTE stands for, but ISTE is the International Society for Technology and Education. And instead of making our own EdTech standards, we are using those. And I would use 1.6a, students choose the appropriate platform and tools for meeting the desired objectives of their creation or communication. So they have been able to take something that you're already doing, maybe researching animal habitats, which covers both your science and your ELA, and involve or infuse it with technology. And I can see that Brian says, does the incoming legislation require us to use both the CS standards and the ISTE standards? Brian, that's a really good question. The ISTE standards were adopted in 2018. So technically you're supposed to be using those anyway, but there hasn't been a lot of pushing and nudging. So the legislation definitely requires the CS standards at a minimum, I think. So now what we're going to do is we would like you to think of something you're already teaching at your grade level. And in just a second, we're going to share some documents with you, but we're going to have you go into breakout rooms by grade level. So there'll be a PK, K, 1, 2, 3. You will be able to self-select the grade level you would like to go into. And you know, think about something you're going to, as a group, select a content area, something that you teach in your grade level, and then you're going to look through the CS, computer science, and the ISTE standards and talk about what is one possible lesson that you could teach your students related to something you already teach that incorporates technology. So what we've done for you is each grade level has a document that has all of your standards already linked. So if you teach third grade, we're going to have a document for you that has all of the third grade standards for every content area so that you don't have to dig. I know that as an elementary teacher, you have to dig around a lot to find everything. So I think Sharon is going to put those links back into to our chat box. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms for about 7 minutes and let you talk as a grade level and see what you can do to integrate technology into a lesson that you're already going to be teaching.
I seem to be having some tech problems, so give me just a second.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me see if I can.
Can you get them? It's just not.
Of course, let's see. Something. I know I have it somewhere else. Here we go. All of our standards are
okay.
Right.
Did you get them?
No, mine's
here we go.
Still.
I don't know what was happening there. Nope, sorry. That was it's not copying the right thing. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
I know it doesn't want to copy, does it?
I'm not sure what's happening.
Wait, I got it. Here we go. You know, sometimes technology can really stink. There you go.
Okay.
So in the chat box, you will find the document that is associated with your grade level. And then, are we ready to open breakout?
We can. Rooms? So I have pre-K through 2 and 3 through 5. Is that?
That could work. Or do we want,
change it real quick.
Let's see. I'll tell you what. Let's do 6 and let participants choose their room. And here's what you're going to do. If you're kindergarten, you're going to choose, if you're pre-K, you're going to choose group 1. No, that's not going to work. If you're first grade, choose 1, second 2, third, 4th, 5th. Room 6 will be for pre-K and room 7 will be for kindergarten. So once again, you're going to look through your standards, find some lesson related to what you would teach, and work together to create a short idea or lesson. And you are able to join a room yourself based upon the grade level you most teach with. And again, pre-K would be room 6 and kindergarten would be room 7. We've got a couple PK teachers and we have some in grade 5. We've got a kindergarten, we've got a first grade. Good. And if you don't work with a specific grade level, maybe you could just jump in one of the rooms and either listen or to provide some guidance for that. I am going to set a timer for about 6 minutes now and pause our recording.
Okay, are we all back? Are we still coming back? Looks like Karen are.
I think we still got some people coming back. They had
Okay.
I think it's a minute or 90 seconds.
Okay, perfect. We will give it a little bit more time.
I think we're okay now.
Okay, very good, and welcome back. Gosh, that seems like it was a short amount of time to have this type of discussion, but I am sure that you had some good discussions in your groups, and we would actually like to hear from some of the groups. So I know that room one, Brian, I saw you in there. You don't necessarily have to be the one that speaks out, but also Shayna was in that room with the group. Somebody from that group want to kind of share some of your thoughts, some of the connections you made as you looked at the standards, maybe an activity you thought of?
We talked about the defined learning that OSDE is providing to schools in Oklahoma. And we talked about how a lot of those projects can be converted to technology. A lot of the products that students create, instead of using craft materials, you can actually use Tinkercad, and you can use Canva or Google Slides to make presentations. So it really lends itself to using technology to create products and let students be creative with technology versus craft supplies and things like that. So.
Okay. I don't think we had anybody in rooms 2 or 3. Room 4, Elizabeth Guy, I saw your name in there. And Kathleen, you were kind of in there with the conversations as well. Somebody from that room, you are welcome to share out.
Kathleen, you're muted. I think you're trying to share with us.
I am. Kim Faulkner was also with us in room 4, and she had some great ideas about connecting students to projects. And Kim, would you like to share what you do with those projects and your theme right now?
Theme at school this year at the elementary school is travel. So I have a bulletin board that I put landmarks on each week, and I've shrunk those down, and I'm going to let the kids draw out. Like last week was Stonehenge was added. We've added the Eiffel Tower, Big Ben, different things, and we're going to do a slideshow in Google Slides. And I have done projects like that in the past, and then they share it with me via their Google Drive, and then they present it to the class. And Kathleen suggested that I put language on there. That was not one that I had, one of my thoughts that I had written down. So I am definitely going to write that down, that they can look up what language the kids or that the people speak in the country or wherever their landmark is that they drew.
That would be very good. Room 5, Melissa, saw your name in there. And then Brenda, you were also in that room. Somebody from room 5.
We just kind of talked about how since we were both ELA predominantly, that we would be doing, the students would be writing research papers and using viable research sites and the credibility of those sites, that was something that would be kind of the crossover. And so I kind of wrote down like the computer science would be like 5 AP, PD, D3, and the ISTE would be like 3 A, B, and C in that area.
Okay. Very good. Was it challenging bringing the computer science portion into it?
The computer science was a little bit harder than the ISTE, yes.
Okay. I'm surprised that you actually went with the algorithm and programming concept, because a lot of times those can be a little bit more challenging, but I love it that you did. That's stretching yourself. So that's awesome. Okay, room 6, which Tara, I saw your name in there, and Heather was also in that room, along with a couple others. Somebody from room 6.
So something that we kind of talked about for pre-K, there's a couple standards about using like drawing or writing to convey a personal story or experience. And specifically, there's an app that you can get on, I think maybe any device, but probably just iPads. I'm not really sure. But there's an app called Draw and Tell that you can use that students can draw out a picture. You can do it in a directive drawing with giving them a prompt or in a different situation, but you can use the Draw and Tell app to have them draw out a story or use specific shapes to make a picture, and then they can dictate themselves what they drew, because they can record right on their drawing what they wanted to say about it instead of having like the teacher write it for them.
Okay. I love the creativity in that. Room 7, I think, just had 2 people, Pamela and Sharon.
Yeah, I can start, and then Pamela you can add anything, but it was a great conversation. Pamela is also the librarian at their school and a former pre-K and kindergarten teacher. So we had a good conversation. We did have a little bit of conversation about how they need a lot of guidance in the early years, and it's just about holding it correctly and typing her name. And so many of those things take time. But we did talk about ways that they could show their learning through technology. So for example, if they're doing some research, typing a fact and having a picture to illustrate that fact. Also apps like Chatterpix, where they can, write maybe about a story that they read, and then they can take the picture in Chatterpix and draw a line and have it read their story or their retelling of that. Pamela, anything else? What else did we talk about?
I think all of those are great ideas. And I'm going to address something because I know Sharon is early childhood. And even as a project manager for education technology, one thing that I say is technology should only be used when it's going to be able to enhance or extend learning. We want our little ones to still play and experience and manipulate and learn through exploration. There's ways that we can add technology and check off multiple boxes, but we never want our students just to be sitting in front of a device and focused on that all the time. So some other general tips for integrating technology. If you're someone who is like I really was, I was a technophobe, I would say start small. You can look at what other people are doing, but you know what? Just a little chunk at a time. If teaching students to record their own voice, that's a step in the right direction if you're not comfortable yourself. Another thing is, and I didn't put this down there, it's okay if your students become the experts instead of you. They're good. They do not have any issues exploring and learning and discovering. And sometimes it does get a little intimidating because our students can just race ahead. We do have to kind of like hold them where we want them to be. But, think of the connections between your standards and our technology tools in general. Someone had mentioned Tinkercad. Tinkercad, I think that was Brian, is a great tool. Think of the appropriateness of the age group of students that you're with. And we don't want to just pick something and cram it in there to make it fit. determine the purpose for using that technology. Again, does it extend or enhance learning? Being able to learn about the spots around the world, like the Eiffel Tower, and going in Google Earth and seeing it in 3D. Sometimes it's a whole class activity, and sometimes it's individual exploration. And again, if you're new, I recommend just adding a tool at a time. Again, start small, become that expert, or have maybe a student become the expert in using something. This is a big jump for all of us. And I think another thing is when you're having students use devices, anytime you hand a student a device, you need to ensure that you're providing them the safety and security and guidance that's appropriate for using devices. We're responsible for our children, and we need to ensure that we're teaching them to be responsible users. So those are some thoughts that I have. Do you have anything else, Jeremy, to add on tips for integration?
I think a lot of teachers feel overwhelmed many times when they think, okay, I have to integrate, or I'm going to integrate computer science. Well, what does that look like? The good news is you already are doing so much of it. You just don't realize it. And when you begin to realize that the very foundation of computer science is computational thinking, for example, algorithms, is built into those little routines you do every single day in your classroom. Those are algorithms. And so from there, it's just a matter of making a meaningful connection. And so the good news is we're here and we're available to help you. And so as you think about this and you think, you know, I've got some ideas, but I'm just not sure how I'm going to do it, reach out to us. Let us know. I would love to help you. I'd love to be your thought partner as you consider computer science education.
So before we go, are there any questions or comments that any of you might have? I love what Jeremy said. He does mean it about being a thought partner. You're able to reach out to either of us or reach out to your content area expert and ask them. And like I said, we collaborate a lot together. So it's so much easier and more fun to work with others and collaborate. Well, if you would like access to the slide deck, you may have accessed it earlier, but there is a bit.ly link. For bit.ly links, you do need to ensure they are case sensitive. So for this, it is capital ELEDS and then lowercase EPT 23. And hopefully you will be able to use some of the items we shared. And there is something else that we are working on right now, is because elementary teachers are pulled in so many different ways, and you have to worry about your ELA and your math and your social studies and your science and all of those standards. We are in the process of creating an easier repository for each of you. Hopefully you were able to collect the links for your specific grade level standards. If not, as soon as we finish, I'm going to add that into a separate slide in the slide deck so that you don't have to go to our State Department page and jump from content area page. You have easy access all in one place. And I know that as we move forward throughout the school year, we are going to be doing more to make things more accessible for you. So does anyone from our agency have anything else? And if not, we are so thankful that each of you came. to spend some time with us tonight. And